Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. Of course, it's Friday. We're speaking ahead of Game Week 35, and this is Ben 10, where I attempt to cover all 10 games, 20 teams within a 10-minute period, although I'm not sure I've actually done that at all this season. Anyhow, we move on. We kick things off at St James's Park. Newcastle entertain Liverpool in the early kickoff. Eddie Howe, good news generally. There are no fresh injury concerns. However, it was hoped that Kieran Trippier and or Callum Wilson would be back for the game. Certainly some kind of involvement in the squad. However, that won't be the case. Kieran Trippier, fractured metatarsal, has only been involved in one team session, and therefore the game comes a little bit too soon. For Callum Wilson, most of his work is still being done with the sports science department. That indicates that he's maybe slightly behind Trippier, so possibly game week 36 or game week 37 for him. The other main talking point from Friday morning's press conference was the fact that Ryan Fraser, although may not be back this season, although Eddie Howe insists that his hamstring injury is not serious. For the visitors, Jurgen Klopp once again rules Roberto Firmino out. This ongoing foot problem persistent. It's not responding as hoped, and therefore he will not be available. There is no definitive timeline on when that will actually happen. Tsimikas, he missed out midweek because of illness, stomach cramps, diarrhea. He has returned to the training pitches on Thursday, but Curtis Jones, who also missed that Villarreal game, hasn't. So there's big question marks over his availability. For Aston Villa, Bertrand Traore, he was forced off the training pitches on the eve of game week 34, was sent for scans, groin problem. Thankfully, there was nothing sinister there identified, just a little bit of pain and discomfort, and therefore Stephen Gerrard welcomes him back into the matchday squad. We know that Lucas Digne had surgery on her fractured clavicle. We're hoping that he can return probably game week 38, but there are no guarantees with that one. Morgan Sanson and Courtney House, they're two players that have been ruled out. For the visitors to Villa Park, we have heard from Dean Smith, and Dean Smith confirms that Lucas Roop is back in contention. He missed out game week 34 with a knee problem, while Kenny McLean will have an injection, a painkilling injection. He's been playing with a fractured toe. That should hopefully allow him to train on Friday and be involved in the squad on Saturday. Elsewhere, Josh Sargent, he's been out for in and around a month with an ankle issue, will return to the matchday squad. Long-term absentees, Adam Eder, Ozan Kabak, Andrew Omadeli, and Christoph Zimmerman. He pulled up in training on Thursday with a hip flexor problem. We're waiting to learn the extent of that, but suffice to say, likelihood is he's going to actually miss out with that one. For Southampton, they entertained Crystal Palace down at St Mary's. Tino Livramento scheduled for knee surgery. We know that's confirmation that he's ruptured his anterior cruciate ligament, which will probably keep him out for the remainder of the calendar year. The only other question mark in that same squad is Alex McCarthy. He's been out for several months with a hamstring issue. However, Fraser Forster looks nailed down for that starting spot anyway. For Palace, Nathan Ferguson is the only injury absentee. Now that suggests that Tyreek Mitchell is fit and available, and also we've seen Luka Milivojevic out of the matchday squad recently. Now that's an indication that the likelihood is that's been tactical from Patrick Vieira. He was hammered with a little bit of a hamstring issue, but he trained ahead of the Leeds game and wasn't selected in that matchday squad. For Watford, again, Roy Hodgson basically has a clean bill of health. The one notable absentee is Chucho Hernandez, Kiko Firmina and Kluka. They both had minor knocks, which has recovered. So they've trained all week and are absolutely fine. For Burnley, one or two issues for interim boss Mike Jackson, and he'll make a late decision on Maxwell Cornet. Again, that's a knee issue that kept him out of game week 34. I think he picked that up in the 2-2 draw with Southampton. Eric Peters is progressing well. He could join the first team in training pitches from next week, but Ben Mee, Again, he's another player. No guarantees that he will return this season. We're maybe looking at game week 37 at very best with regards to him. Jay Rodriguez forced off last week out of calf complaint. He trained on Thursday. As long as he comes through those 2 sessions, absolutely fine. Then he will be named as part of the squad. Now, for Wolves, big update with regards to Max Kilman. He's picked up an injury in training. Unfortunately, that looks to be quite a severe ankle problem. And Bruno Lage, given where we are at this stage of the season, Bruno Lage doesn't expect the defender to be back to the match day squad. Also, Daniel Podence still out once again with a foot problem. And Ruben Neves rejoined the squad on Thursday, but he's missed several weeks due to a medial collateral knee ligament, MCL. And just given the nature of his position, being midfield, the chances of him being involved, highly unlikely. It's going to be game week 36, probably, as long as there's no reaction in terms of his injury. And for Brighton, again, Graham Potter insists that there was no fresh injury concerns. Tariq Lamptey should be added to the Seagull squads. He had a minor knee problem that ruled him out of the last game, but generally the health and fitness of that Brighton squad are really fine. Sarmiento hamstring issue is also out. Yves Bissouma, he returns after serving a 2-match ban. Of course, he picked up 10 yellow cards, and Jacob Moda is the other long-term absentee with an ACL injury. For Leeds United, we heard from Jess Marsh on Thursday. Now, again, it was a mixed injury update. We know in terms of long-term absentees and those who won't be returning this season, Tyler Roberts, Adam Forshaw, and also Crescento Somerville. He rolled his ankle in training on the eve of the Crystal Palace match. That's going to rule him out for those remaining games. There is hope for Patrick Bamford. He could possibly return to the training pitches from next week. So realistically, we're maybe looking at game week 37 or possibly even game week 38. But that's good news with regards to him. We have seen updates in recent time where he's been featuring on that Alter G treadmill. If you don't know what the Alter G is, have a check out on our videos. It's anti-gravity, and we talk all about that. Now, of course, they entertain champions-elect Manchester City. John Stones, recurrence of a muscle problem midweek. It was a bit of a gamble, which backfired for Pep. So he's definitely out, but it doesn't sound as if he's a million miles away, because there is hope that he could potentially return against Real Madrid in the Champions League midweek. For Kyle Walker, it's a little bit different. We understand that might be a high ankle sprain. There is no definitive timeline, so he's effectively ruled out for the foreseeable future. Frank Lampard needs wins, needs results, in Everton. Unfortunately, the injury that forced Ben Godfrey out of last weekend's game during the warm-up, that thigh problem, that's going to be a few weeks on the sidelines. Now, Frank Lampard said that he hoped that Ben Godfrey could be back to play some part in those remaining fixtures, although there are no guarantees. For game week 35, Donny van de Beek, Andre Gomez, they're both out. Yerry Mina played no part in the Merseyside derby. That was a precautionary measure. The Colombian centre-back was being managed following his return from long-term injury, and also he had played the game just a few days before that, so that's why he wasn't involved. Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well will also come back into the Toffees squad. Good news with regards to Tom Davies. He was initially omitted from the 25-man Everton squad. However, when Jean-Philippe Gaurin left on loan, that freed up a spot. Tom Davies has been added to the squad, and fortunately he's been making good progress. So we've seen him down on Finch Farm. And again, Frank Lampard said if we can get more minutes on the training pitches, maybe arrange a couple of bounce games, behind closed doors friendly, then there's a chance that he could feature. And of course, it's an area of the pitch, a department where they really not need the numbers and need the legs. We've seen Fabian Delph in recent times being involved. Elsewhere, Tottenham, Oliver Skipp, he had surgery on his groin in the US earlier this week. That ends his season, along with Japhet Tendanga and also Matt Doherty. Sergio Reguilon, he made way for Ryan Sessegnon in game week 34, and that was due to a niggling groin complaint. Now, like I say, he was named on the bench for that match, but unfortunately that groin injury will keep him out of this game, and Antonio Conte is not sure when the Spaniard will return. For Leicester, of course, they were involved in the Europa Conference League on Thursday night. Timothy Castagna was forced off early doors in and around that 20th minute mark. That was a precautionary withdrawal, given the fact that he suffered a head injury, and that follows on from the injury that he picked up in the Euros, that fractured eye socket. He tried to continue, didn't feel great, felt a little bit dizzy, so they err on the side of caution with that one. He will be assessed. However, what we have seen with the Foxes team, from Premier League to European and football into Premier League again, lots of rotation, lots of changes. So we've seen Ricardo Pereira, Luke Thomas coming in at those fullback areas, James Justin. So that might be one, again, that Castagna is omitted from the squad, just, to protect him ahead of that second leg tie against Roma. Ryan Bertrand and Wilfred Ndidi are the only two definite long-term absentees. For West Ham, we saw the return of Kurt Zouma in the Europa League on Thursday night. That timely return, given the fact that we know Issa Diop out, may not return this season, and also Angelo Agbona, that's a long-term ACL problem. To add to that, Craig Dawson picked up a sending off at a one-match ban last weekend. So, we've got Kurt Zouma, who's going to be playing back-to-back games in quick succession following that return from injury. So fingers crossed he comes through that without any major setbacks. Declan Rice is a possibility to drop in to that back line should David Moyes wants to change things up ever so slightly. Arsenal, Thomas Partey, there's been a lot of speculation around the potential return of the midfielder. We've been following closely in his Instagram and his social media posts, and there's an indication, or certainly some talk, that he could return ahead of schedule. Mikel Arteta wanted to pour cold water on that, and quash those rumours fairly quickly. He said, look, it's a significant, serious injury, and we're not expecting him to return this season. Better news with regards to Bukayo Saka. He has responded well after being forced off last weekend, so we're not expecting any issues with him. And Takahimo Tomiyasu, he's trained. We're not sure whether he's in a position to start yet. Mikel Arteta said he would make a late call on his involvement. And finally, Monday night's game at Old Trafford, Manchester United welcome Brentford. For United, we had a big update from Ralph Rangnick. It was a carryover from their Thursday night game. We haven't had a live press conference on Friday, but that related to Jadon Sancho, who missed Thursday night's game because of tonsillitis. Ralph Rangnick said the player is suffering from high temperatures and there's a lot of inflammation in there. Now, potentially, he may need surgery to remove those tonsils. So he thinks it's highly unlikely that he'll feature in any of the next two games. And of course, then United don't play until, I think it's May the 22nd. So it could be that Jadon Sancho may not play again this season. Elsewhere, Fred, he trained ahead of the Chelsea game, but Ralph Rangnick wasn't prepared to take any risks and risk a recurrence or an injury setback. So he's one that may be pushing. Also, Edison Cavani, he returned to the training pitches on Friday. Now, while it's highly unlikely he's going to get some start, we could see a possible return to the matchday squad. Aaron Wan-Bissaka failed a late test on Thursday. He's one that should be in and around. What we do know, Luke Shaw and Paul Pogba more or less are out for the next 2-3, maybe even game week 38 as well. Jess Lingard, that was a personal issue that kept him out of the squad on Thursday evening, a family problem. And Harry Maguire, conflicting reports. Ralph Rangnick initially referred to his knee problem as a little niggle. However, media speculation indicates that actually the club captain faces a race against time to play games this season, and it's maybe a little bit more sinister than the United manager would care to divulge. And finally, the visitors, Brentford, the Bees, they should have Christian Christoph Ayer. He was out of game week 34, that 0-0 draw with Tottenham, because of a shin injury that he had picked up in the previous game week. And Christian Norgård suffered a concussion in training on the eve of that Tottenham match. He's also back in contention. Ethan Pinnock and Sergio Canos, both hamstring-related problems. They're targeting game week 36. Frank Onyeka and Matthias Jorgensen, they're going to be lucky to play again this season. And Godos, ankle injury from the Tottenham match. We have no time frame on his possible return, but he is out of game week 35. That's it. We're all done. Any comments? Pop them in the box below. If you want any other updates, then please check out premierinjuries.com or have a look at my Twitter account on @Ben and hopefully all your questions will be answered then. So have a great weekend. Good luck. Green arrows all around, and we'll see you in very soon.